This is Hyperdrive Hour sequel hour. Sequels as in the movies, not as in like just a normal sequel. Um, we're gonna run through the same questions that we did last time for the prequels. See where it takes us. But first, everybody's gonna say hi. Starting with Donovan.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, you guys suck.
Hi.
You paused.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, I said hi when I was told to.
Yeah. Um, I figured you guys would have known, given that we go through the same order same thing every week, where you introduce yourself to re-identify your voice and the name that should be associated with it. But no, whatever.
Sure.
If you guys don't know, I'll watch a different one.
Damn.
They've had plenty of episodes to learn our voices.
What episode is this? 14? 13? 14?
I think
13?
Are we on that
Yeah,
already?
Somehow. Speaking of somehow, somehow
The sequels have returned.
the sequels have returned.
Yeah.
Starting with episode 7. Sonata. You're since you're the bottom, whatever. Since you're the bottom, we're starting with
Okay,
you
my God,
right now.
Not sure too many personal details for the internet.
Yeah, it kind of just came out. What'd you like most about the movie? The last time you saw it.
So the last time I saw it all the way through, so that our viewers have an understanding of where my thoughts are coming from, was when it came out in December of 2015. I've seen bits and pieces of it since then. If there's one thing about the movie that I do like, it is that there are some... I guess specifically, what I like the most about it is the X-Wing scene on Tokodana. Getting to see the old girls, although they're not quite so old according to the lore, fight TIE fighters again on screen after all those years was very nice, and I enjoyed it tremendously. And that's about the highlight of the film for me.
Alrighty. I mean, I can't fault you there. I know when I watched it, because I watched it yesterday. Yeah. And I know I pointed out that like it's just generically a cool scene. It scratches all the cliche like, like plane action moments, them skimming the water. And that's a
Fuck
fun
you,
time.
Empire.
Yeah.
Marin,
Just.
yeah.
Literally
What do you
anything
like the
with
most?
fucking Rey in it. I love Rey. I will die for Rey. I love her so much. Her music theme is great. Her introduction. Honestly, the opening to this film might be my favorite part. The opening in Takodana. The introduction of Finn and Poe and the introduction of Rey are handled very well.
Marin, I do hate to
Yeah?
tell you this, but the opening was on Jakku, not Tokodana.
And Takodana separately, you dingbat.
Didn't sound like it from my end.
I heard and.
Yeah, I heard it too. I think Sonata might just need some
Sonata, I
hearing
think you're just
aids.
wrong.
Gramps
prepare to
needs some
die.
hearing aids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been prepared to die for quite some time. I'm ready.
How about you?
You say that, but you've never played Dark Souls. How curious.
I've played Elden Ring, and I beat it, so...
That is not Dark Souls.
But
Pretty
yeah,
fucking
I
close.
think the introduction of this film handles the introduction of the characters for the sequel trilogy really well. I think it's some of the best characterization that we see of them.
Donovan, you're next.
That's fair.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I guess I can just talk about mine. I think looking at it from like a technical point of view, it is a well constructed hero's journey. I'll get into my issues with that later, but it is a technically well done movie. It is just generically well put together. At least I find myself at least mildly interested from beginning to end. And my favorite scene, I'm probably with Marin, that the opening, like Kylo Ren's introduction, is they do that so well.
Yeah.
And yeah. Trying to stay positive in the positive section.
I don't know if I have one particular part. I'm a big fan of the X-Wings. I do think the introductions are handled well. So I might just cop out and kind of steal everybody else's answer. I feel like it's a consistent answer, but I think that means that they were done well. Everybody feels accurately portrayed into what they do. The ex-stormtrooper, the pilot, this technologically savvy scavenger, and the emo boy who kills the three-eyed raven.
Oh,
Write it
emo
down.
boy.
It's
Yeah.
not a phase, Mom.
For those
We're
that
up
don't
to
know, that was a Game
one
of Thrones reference.
Game of Thrones reference. Drink.
Starting the counter early, I see.
Well, they
We're
start the
off
counter
that
early.
gate.
Dude, they start the counter so early in that movie with Max von
It's
Sydow and
literally
then
like
Gwendolyn
the first
Christie.
character we see.
I mean, yes.
Also, we have to start the counter early because last time it took quite a while to get the counter started.
Yeah, it took
Yeah.
us an hour and a half.
I was trying to go a whole episode without him, and Marin screwed it up.
Sorry.
Textbook Marin.
Yeah, and I have a tendency to fuck
Typical of
things up.
Marin.
Yeah. Gramps, what do you hate most about the movie? Or what do you dislike most? I don't know. I don't know which verbiage we want to use here. Sonata.
That's only referring to me since I'm the eldest here. I've had some time to think this over from what I remember of watching the film all these years back. And I think the existence of Starkiller Base is what I dislike most. I recognize that it's a trope that's done over and over and over again in this franchise, but just once, I want to see a story that doesn't feature a planet/system destroying superweapon. That would be nice. It also turned out to be one of my favorite planets in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that was an extra punch to the stomach. But yeah, just in general, the existence of Starkiller Base has always really, really made me unhappy ever since I saw the film.
Yeah, I get that. I can understand that. I don't know if I necessarily feel any dissimilar from that. I feel like it's been a point amongst most of the fans to rag on just the super killer or super weapons at this point as a plot point for ages now. And this is not the last time this point will be brought up. We've got about 1,000 more on the way.
Yep.
I thought it was 1,000,000 more on the way.
I don't know how many were in that movie. I didn't count them.
Skill issue. Should have
I
counted
think
them.
we need a supercomputer to count all of them. Truth be told.
Oh, shut up.
How many? Yeah. Just however many times the dudes at ILM click Control C, Control V on the Star Destroyer model.
I know, right?
After they upscaled it by exactly 2 times. Sorry, we're talking about the wrong fucking movie.
Yes.
Alright, Sonata hates Starkiller Base. Marin.
For me, it's less so, like, there are no specific scenes where I'm like, God, this is unbearable to sit through, other than maybe Maz crawling across the table to look at Finn. that it's just silly, which is standard Star Wars. I just feel like that was something that was done only for laughs. But
Draw
I
me
guess
like one
it's
of your
just
Twilight girls.
I guess it's just the fact that there was so much that could have been set up in this movie that would have made the other two so much better. It's the, for lack of a better term, wasted potential of this movie. And we'll get into it whenever we talk about the later movies. But I would have loved to see more of the tension between Kylo Ren and Hux. We do see some of it. I feel like we don't see enough. I feel like we should have gotten Pride.
Pride,
Pride.
yeah. General
Pride, my
Gay.
bad. I feel like we should have gotten Pride. I feel like that's I don't know. I just feel like we should have gotten things that we didn't get. But there's no specific scene where I'm like, this is bad. I feel like out of the 3 films, this is the one that is the least controversial in terms of like whether they're good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree. I'll let Donovan speak before I speak to Myron's point because it's similar to mine. But
Yeah, my point is also similar, and it also builds off of my, what I talked about for the for my favorite part, and it's that all it is a well-constructed hero's journey. To me, there's not a whole hell of a lot to separate it from A New Hope or any other young adult and or high fantasy and or sci-fi just novel. There in an attempt to recapture an audience this many years later, they've lost what made Star Wars special, and that was the uniqueness.
yeah.
Now it's just any other action movie.
Yeah, I would agree. And to kind of build upon that, I just think the movie plays itself too safe. I think that's what it is.
Mhm.
Is as Donovan said, they like are trying to recapture what Star Wars was, in '77 when everyone sat down in the theater for the first time to watch it, and it's like that's
They
cool and
lost their
all.
minds over it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's cool and all, but you got to realize we've already seen that. It's a lot harder to lose your minds over this time. Once the novelty of holy shit, we're actually getting more Star Wars movies, and holy shit, the visual quality of these movies are so good. You sit there and think about the plot, and you're like, man, this really is just beat for beat A New Hope, and that's kind of unfortunate because A New Hope is a very basic story. The kind of shocking and what blew a lot of people away was just how it was told on the screen and the setting, and it's the most cliche fantasy story out there, but it's dressed in cassette futurism and unique fantasy. Um, so yeah, that's what I think. In the same vein, I think they play it too safe. They lean into everything that they've already done, which includes Sonata's super weapon that ties all 4 of us together. I think is that like
Yeah. We're basically all on the same wavelength.
So where we talk about movies that don't play it safe, Sonata. What'd you like most about The Last Jedi? Or actually, do we want to do like any final thoughts on The Force Awakens? Do we have any final thoughts?
We
And
haven't.
if we're
Like,
gonna
don't know
follow
if
the
you
same template as last episode, you missed a question.
What question
Yeah,
did
you
I
did.
miss?
What would you
what
change?
would you change?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Sonata, what would you change?
Okay, hear me out, because I might sound nuts
Uh-oh.
at first.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
You already do.
Pen full of hats, people.
Remove Starkiller Base entirely. made
Uh-huh.
the First Order seem weaker, and essentially turned the First Order into what the Rebel Alliance was for the Empire. A group of terrorists committing strikes against New Republic targets, forcing the New Republic to, if they still have, in my own version of this, they still have a somewhat functioning military, force them to have to spread out and protect everything, which in turn makes them weaker as a whole. Basically, I know I'm gonna get called a simp for this, but I don't give a fuck. Basically what Thrawn did during the Thrawn trilogy. Except, it's obvious that they wouldn't have the resources he did. Just, you know what I mean? Make the First Order, as opposed to, this secret military Junga in the unknown regions, just make them a bunch of people that just legitimately thought the Empire was better for the galaxy. And have them use the same tactics against the Empire, or sorry, against the New Republic, that the Rebel Alliance used against the Empire.
So how would the end of the movie play out? Would the Resistance lose?
So my thought process for how this movie would end is that these these quote rebels end quote perform an attack on something vital to the New Republic and potentially kills a large number of people, crippling the New Republic itself. Something similar to what the Alliance
what
did with
Starkiller
Death
does to attack on Chandrilla instead of actually just blowing up the fucking system.
Yeah. Something like what the Rebellion would have done to the Empire.
Interesting. And so would the next movie following that sort of line of thought, would the next movie be the First Order kind of in full power, or would it just be they're still kind of clawing?
So my thought process was, because of the strike against the New Republic on Chandrilla, a lot of systems suddenly feel like the New Republic can no longer keep them safe. And that's how the First Order starts gaining allies, is systems joining up with them to avoid being targets in and of themselves.
I see.
Why are we using Chandrilla, out of curiosity?
Wasn't
just-
it the...
It's Hosnian Prime. Come on now.
Bosnian!
True.
I'm
That's true.
stupid! Hi!
I'm also stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on,
It
you
was
guys are
Patrick
supposed to be
Swayze.
Star Wars fans.
You silly little goobers.
I am in
this
fact
movie.
a fake Star Wars fan.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
I
Yeah, I
movie
sent
like
you
8
guys to
years. It's
Hosnian
off.
Prime in a Star Wars game. Come
clearly
on now.
it wasn't memorable enough.
Was
But
I
you guys
there?
know what I'm saying.
No, you were not
No,
there,
you
man.
weren't there yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Due to object evidence, you did not exist yet.
Yeah. I
But yeah, that's what I would change.
That would definitely move away from the sort of problem that a lot of people have, such as Donovan, being that it's just like a copy paste of A New Hope. It would put a spin on it that could be really intriguing. I can see how that would work.
I think it's also an interesting commentary on, how we see rebellions. That sometimes we see them as good, sometimes we see them as bad. In the real world, we're having a similar ideological disparity over stuff in the Middle East, where some people are like, I won't go into details, but you can all draw your own conclusions. Or it's like sometimes you see it as good, and sometimes you see it as bad, and I think it's kind of interesting to now paint.
To borrow a quote that I've heard a whole lot: one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of like knocking over a domino that would require lots of changes in the other movies as well to kind of make everything mesh together, because the First Order, quote unquote, works. because you can just say they were amassing in the unknown regions for 30 years. And that's why, would it have been nice for them to show them taking over the galaxy somewhere around the end of episode 7, the beginning of episode 8? Maybe. Maybe, instead of Star Wars Battlefront 2 being the, only real bridge there. But
As part of a DLC, no less.
yeah.
Yep.
Granted, it was free. Guys,
Yeah.
it's time to be real. Sorry. No, that's kind of my thought. It's not like me knocking the idea. It's just I foresee this causing dominoes.
Yeah.
I would be interesting though to kind of invert it and be like, all right, well, I think this is a good example of how it's not just inherently, oh, the rebels are always the good people. Rebelling aren't always the good guys. People, defending their governments aren't always the bad guys. Maybe you should take a more nuanced look at the situation, in real life and see what you, yeah. I think it'd be interesting.
That could be really intriguing.
Lauren.
Hello! What I would change about this film, I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, is just more setup for the next 2 movies. I would, first of all, because I just love the idea of this plot line that they scrapped, I would set up more than just one stormtrooper being a rebel, or maybe Finn talks to some of his buddies in his squad, being like, "Hey, what the fuck is going on?" And one of them is just like, "I don't know, I'm just following orders," or whatever. Kind of have some conversation between there, because then that gives you the context behind the traitor line that you get on Takodana. I would have the existence of pride in this film. And I would have more conflict between Hux and Ren. Specifically more like spite of Hux towards Ren. Maybe Snoke's favoritism towards Ren, and Hux getting pissy about that or something along those lines. It's just because this movie, like A New Hope, is a great standalone film. It doesn't really handle the fact that it's the first of a trilogy very well, I feel. There's not really much to discuss in terms of that. It's just like, just a code. Maybe have a little bit of something with Phasma as well, in terms of the sewing dissent between the stormtroopers. Show Phasma being more of a bitch or something, I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely didn't utilize Phasma.
Literally anything.
They didn't utilize Phasma nearly as much as they should have, and you would think they would use her quite a bit, considering about how she was kind of just on almost all of the promotional materials for the film. But she had a grand total of what was it, like 3 scenes, if that much.
Well, she got Boba Fetted, except they intentionally made her cool, whereas George Lucas didn't realize that people were gonna latch on to Boba Fett.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
I didn't think that chrome stormtrooper armor would work, but it does, and it looks good
cool
on her.
as shit.
Furthermore, waste of a good actress behind the helmet too, or in the helmet.
Am I allowed to make another Game of Thrones reference?
Yes.
She's Brienne of Tarth.
She does well. I like her as an actress. It's a shame they don't fucking use her at all in these movies. It's also a shame she gets held up at gunpoint in Bulletproof Armor. It's really funny.
Yeah.
I suppose the excuse for that is they kind of hold it underneath the break in the armor at the chin, but that's real pushing it.
Yeah, but she got put into that situation by a gun in the first place. The caveat I'll give is that Chewbacca's bowcaster was present, and I don't know how that thing would interact with the
I mean,
armor. That might hurt.
Considering what it does to the average stormtrooper,
Well, yeah, but that's the point. She's not the average stormtrooper. So I like to imagine it bounces off and hits one of the other people in the room.
Base.
No.
funny.
Alrighty. Donovan, I do believe it's your time to change something.
It's like there's two prevailing plot lines in this movie, right? The looking for Luke and oh my god, Starkiller Base.
Mm-hmm.
I think the movie would very much benefit from picking one. Because going to get Luke and trying to restart the Jedi and all that, that's all important. Because that's helping fight the First Order, etc., etc. We know all that shit already. Dealing with Starkiller Base, equally as important. They blew up a shit ton of planets. It's fine. But by trying to do both, I feel like they spread themselves fairly thin in terms of the storytelling. So it feels like at some point, I can't tell where, Rey starts being on a different hero's journey than Finn and Poe. And so neither group can get the attention that story needs. I'd say either expand both stories, split them into separate movies, or just pick one and let the other happen in the background.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to let one of those happen in the background. Because
I feel like you'd have to split it into two movies. Because it's like looking for Luke and dealing with Starkiller are both very important things. But because we're bouncing back and forth, we've got we have just like there's not enough time to develop. Hey, Luke's all the way out here. What's he doing? They just show up to his house, basically. R2 wakes up, they show up to his house, and then he throws his lightsaber away. Congratulations, that's the entire Luke plot. And that's not doing him justice.
That's not even... some of that's not even in this movie. He doesn't even throw the lightsaber away in this movie.
You're right, yeah.
He literally gets a 1.5 minute long staring sequence at the end. That's really awkward and should have been about 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an interesting dilemma that I didn't think about it that way though, because like I think that the Luke plot has way more meta importance than it does in-universe importance, because like sure the Jedi are important, but I think the planet-killing weapon kind of trumps that in the immediate scale of importance. So I think that's that issue there, is that like you come down to, all right, well, obviously the fans, they care more about Luke Skywalker. You'd be fucking stupid not to. So then it's, what do you pick? I think you just pull a Sonata and you just scrap Starkiller Base entirely, and it's all about oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I know where I'm going with mine. Yeah.
What is your change?
No, I was gonna let Donovan finish speaking.
Oh.
It was like the Force Awakens. is in fact 15 minutes longer than New Hope, and New Hope, having only one main plot, is able to like actually tell a much deeper and much more interesting story. Because than The Force Awakens is, with 15 fewer minutes. So I think, yeah, either ditching Starkiller Base and just focusing on Luke, splitting them into two movies. One of the two has to happen in order for both plot lines to get what they deserve, or even
Yeah.
just one of them.
Oh, and I think the thing is, it's almost as if they would have spent the entire movie if Obi-Wan wouldn't have been a Jedi, and they spent the entire movie looking for Yoda while also dealing with the Death Star in the background. And so
Yeah, exactly.
when you put it into that perspective and consider how Yoda was his like entire own movie almost with Empire Strikes Back, like he was kind of one of the biggest things. And again, I think that's an important case of like, if you think about it in the large scale of the universe, there's like one thing that happened in Empire Strikes Back, and that's the rebellion losing at Hoth. Nothing else happens, and it's a good movie in spite of that, because it's, you know, all the Jedi stuff.
It becomes a character drama.
Yeah, personally, there are bits and pieces that I do here. Again, Rise of Skywalker shoehorns in General Pride as this long-term Imperial general who served Palpatine during the Empire and during the First Order and the Final Order. I'm here to pull him through all three movies, because I think you take him, Hux, and Kylo Ren, and you have this interesting three-way vie for essentially Snoke's lapdog. And this is important for the next two movies. But where they're just, you have the guy who's good because he's just a Force user. You have the grizzled veteran who, like, you know, kind of knows what he's doing. And then you have Bill Weasley, who exists and whines like a bitch. And we've downgraded today. We have a Harry Potter reference now.
Oh God, you're right.
And so that way, this sets up the Hux sabotage of the First Order in the Rise of Skywalker. But then this is also kind of the hint, like you can touch on his Imperial background and start tying in these just little things of like, well, here's all the First Order connections to the old school Empire, and you know, maybe the Empire is not as dead as they said it was, because, you know, ultimately Rise of Skywalker is still somehow Palpatine returned. Like I'm not proposing we change that. I think we scrap Starkiller Base, though. I think we expand the Knights of Ren in exchange. And so you take this esoteric dark side Force user group, and maybe people in the galaxy are actually kind of vibing with them. And that's why they're looking for Luke Skywalker. They need to bring the Jedi back, because the fake Sith are actually gaining some traction. And this is why we're spending the time hunting down the map to Luke Skywalker. Han Solo can still die. Harrison Ford can still get his cop out.
I think
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's earned his cop out.
I think
I
that's
don't think he even needed to be in the movie.
I'm inclined to agree there, honestly.
I mean, it's fine.
I personally think that like him being there isn't bad, but it'd be so much more impactful if it was Leia.
Who died?
Yes.
Hmm.
Just my
Hmm.
question is, how would Leia be introduced in the story?
Fuck if I know.
Who
I'm not saying that this is a good idea. I'm just saying that scene. I think that scene would have been better with someone who actually wanted to be there.
You know,
the thing is, he kind of did though. He wanted to get his son back.
I think
No, I mean,
Donovan's
I'm
speaking in a
referring to the
meta
actor.
sense.
I'm referring to
The actor? Harrison Ford couldn't care less. He's getting paid. That's all that matters to him.
Yeah, that like I said, I feel like the scene would have been a bit better if it wasn't bad, but I think it would have benefited from an actor who was there because they want to be the character as opposed to there for a paycheck and to stop having this obligation of, oh Jesus Christ, I'm fucking Han Solo.
I'm just trying to think about how that could work story-wise as to where Leia could be the one that's there.
This is where you work in Sonata's terrorism plot.
Yep.
I just
That's true.
they've gone to great lengths to show that Kylo Ren couldn't kill his mom though, so like
That's true.
granted, I feel like that was after he killed his dad and he's like, I really don't know how I feel about it. I don't want to go through this again.
Yeah.
So it could be a mixed bag there, but like I mean, I feel like that would have been a lot more ballsy than killing Han Solo.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys like girl power? Yeah, we just killed Princess Leia.
Yep. Just kill the entire main cast.
I mean,
They basically do.
I mean, they do.
yeah.
Save Chewie.
No, you
And Lando.
misunderstand. I mean, kill
Oh.
Rey, Poe, and Finn.
Oh.
Kill
No,
all
we'll
them.
talk. We'll
Then we
we'll
don't
talk
need to
about
worry
that
the
next
other
movie.
movies.
Yeah.
We'll talk about main character deaths next movie. That does conclude The Force Awakens.
It does
Alright.
indeed.
Donata, tell me what you like most about The Last Jedi.
So it's another scene that I like the most, and it's because if there's one scene I've gone back to watch multiple times, it's this one. I really enjoy the fight between Rey and Ben fighting against the Praetorian guards in the throne room. Despite the choreography being a bit off in a certain place, I do think it's one of the best parts of that movie, at least for me. The choreography is really nice, and there is some real tension in that scene in some moments. And also,
Sorry.
igniting a lightsaber through somebody's head is morbidly hilarious to me.
I mean, the thing about that choreography is that it's not sure it's wonky for one specific interaction. But given that it's all one take, that's incredibly well done.
Oh, absolutely. No argument here. It is a brilliantly well done scene.
I would even argue that it's one of the best fight scenes in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
At least, if
Yeah.
not from like a narrative perspective, then definitely from the technical perspective and the spectacle of it.
I'll agree on the technical and the spectacle.
I mean, it's good. There's a lot of spinning, attacking nobody in the background from some of those guys. There's a disappearing knife. There's a lot of goofy things that go on. However, most Star Wars fights are that way. Because I know people bitch about the throne room scene in that movie all the time, and about how, oh, look how poorly done it is. You know, this guy's knife disappears. And it's like, you can analyze as, because Jeremy was here when we watched that movie, and Jeremy was kind of like, I think it's funny. It's like, yeah, it's funny to look at the mistakes, but you can do that with most scenes. So just judge them all on the same things if you're gonna nitpick the movies. I do like that scene a lot though. It's a good choice on your part, Sonata. 'Cause yeah, it's it was interesting when I watched it the first time, I think, and I was like, yeah, I was genuinely surprised. Not even because obviously you have Snoke's death right beforehand, but I was surprised that it devolved into or evolved, turned into the heroes
Escalated?
fighting together. Escalated. Oh yeah, escalated into your antagonist and protagonist fighting together. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a very interesting scene. Is Marin back or do I have to go out of order?
I'm back.
Okay. Marin, what'd you like
So
the most?
the most out of this film, it's probably Rey training with Luke. I like Rey learning how to use the Force, and I do like the throne room. That is a cool scene as well. I like the well done, my good and faithful apprentice, and the tension there, and how they fight together, and setting up their what do they call it? The do something. It's not a duology.
A dyad?
Dyad, yeah, it starts with a D. Their dyad in the Force, how they kind of set that up. But I really like Rey learning how to use the Force with Luke, and specifically the mirror section, where it's the funny mirror cave, whatever the fuck. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really much in order to say. I feel like that I can say in terms of that. I like Luke in this movie. Fucking kill me. I don't care. Um,
Well, if you've ever had an excuse to dox one of our own viewers, now would be the time.
No, don't say that.
All right. So Marin
Uh,
lives at no.
let's not. No,
I'm not.
genuinely,
I'm
I
not.
really do like Luke in this film. I love Luke in this film because Justice and I were talking about this the other day. Luke has always been the main character, obviously, and he kind of realizes the fact that he's the main character. He did save the galaxy. And so whenever something goes wrong, he doesn't really know how to handle it well. And so of course he's going to take it to the exact opposite extreme because he's a man of extremes. And not want to use the Force anymore because he feels like he failed, and he's only really ever failed once before. And even then, it wasn't a total failure because he saved his friends in Empire Strikes Back. Save Han, but you know. Yeah. Yeah. That's all I gotta say. Oh, also
Donovan.
hold him over is cool. Fuck you.
Okay, I'll admit that scene was pretty visually spectacular as well.
Donovan, what do you like most about this movie?
That's a hard question. Not because mostly because I don't want to just blindly repeat what others have said, and also just because this movie is kind of a plateau for me, if you know what I mean. Like, it starts off all right. It's good for most of it, but there's nothing really standout. There's no peaks. It's just a flat line.
Okay.
I hope what I'm saying here is
Yeah,
making sense.
I understand.
But I mean, to be honest, uh, the mirror sequence specifically, where they have the balls to say, "Hey, it's not it's who you are, not your family," and all that shit. Uh, in a setting where it very much does matter. It's a damn good scene, and it's a good sentiment to try to express.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people kind of misunderstand the whole family thing in Star Wars because it's like as much as Vader's whole thing is because of his family. That's why he turned back. The flip side perspective is Luke didn't turn to the dark side in spite of his family, and so it's like, yeah, family means something. Family is also something you can grow beyond. You're not defined by the sins of your father, quite literally in the case of the original trilogy. And so I think it's interesting to try and hammer home that point, that it doesn't matter who you are, it just matters who you are. Chew on that one. uh, if you get it, you get it. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Yeah. I like Luke's stalling of Kylo Ren. I like that
I do
Luke does an
too.
entire lightsaber duel without dueling with his lightsaber. Because I think that's about the most ultimate Jedi way to go about a fight. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, any other time Luke fights, he's like. I mean, you look at Return of the Jedi, which is one of my favorite. Or, it is my favorite lightsaber duel. The dude's so unbalanced, off edge, absolutely mauling the entire fight. He. Because at the end of the day, fighting isn't. It's not like Jedi aren't allowed to fight or anything, but that's not the Jedi way. And he goes into a fight and completely buys them time without hurting Kylo Ren, without hurting anybody else. Um, I guess himself technically, but uh, it's there's never even the faking of he just matrixes his way through everything, and I think it's cool um, to see him just kind of square up and do a lightsaber fight in the most non-confrontational way possible. Um, I think that's my favorite scene. Um, Sonata, what do you dislike the most? Is the answer Canto Bite?
Okay. I think the answer here is going to have to be Canto Bite. That entire sequence was completely and totally pointless. Like, I don't use that term lightly with film, but we didn't need. How long did that last? I don't remember. Like
It's
30 to 45 minutes.
genuinely like almost 30 minutes long. I think. It's why
We
this
didn't
film's so
need.
fucking long.
We didn't need 30 minutes to say, "Hey, rich people bad." We we needed maybe like 5. Like,
Rich people
uh,
are bad. Free the animal slaves, not the child
Not the
slaves.
child ones.
it's just like I don't like a lot of parts of that movie, but out of everything in that film that I dislike, Canto Bite would be at the top of the list.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a theme here. We're gonna at least go 2 for 4 with Canto Bite. Um,
I mean, it's the obvious choice. I'm actively not going to be selecting because it is the obvious choice.
Myron, we're not. Hold on. Here's the thing, though. It's not about obvious choice or not. It's about what you dislike the most.
Genuinely what you think.
Yeah, if that's what you dislike the most, that's what you dislike the most. If it's not, it's not. But we're not. We're not trying to subvert expectations here, okay? People bitch about the movie doing enough already. Myron.
Ah, God, I fucking hate Canto Bite. There's, like... It could have been interesting if it was a movie that was along the lines of Solo. Like, give me a standalone Star Wars film where we're taking down the upper echelons of Canto Bite. That sounds cool.
Oh
We don't
yeah,
need
Disney
that
would go for
now.
that, surely. Yeah, let's take down the
Yeah,
rich people.
I know what my next one shot's gonna be.
No, it's just like it does nothing for me except for bog down the movie. Like it's got some cool sequences, and I
Sure.
like the fact that they bring up that like, hey, you know, maybe there is some gray area because this person was selling to both the First Order and the Resistance. Whoa. And then they take that absolutely nowhere. So it's
Yeah.
just... Ugh.
I'm just gonna pencil myself in here and say that my answer is also Canto Bite, and I have nothing further to add to that. So we're gonna go to Donovan, who invariably I think I know what they're gonna pick. But I want to hear it.
I have two things.
Yeah.
First is Canto Bite.
Yeah.
The third. The third?
The third?
The second. The second are those goddamn gorilla AT-ATs.
Oh, okay. This is not the one I thought it was gonna be. I thought
I
Donovan
hate
was.
them.
I thought Donovan was gonna come out swinging for Luke or something. I was like, man.
I mean, I'm also not the biggest fan of the training sequence, like leading up to the mirrors, mostly because it's just stuff we've already seen before. There's nothing new or interesting there. But I do recognize that that's important for the development of Rey, and because otherwise people will call her even more of a Mary Sue than she already is.
Is
But I
she
think
one
those
though?
fucking AT-ATs look stupider than anything else I have seen on screen in a good long while. And fuck Canto Bite.
But they got the big back gun.
Fun fact: the lore reason why
Counterpoint.
they're go ahead, Donovan.
Just put the put ATTEs back into production if you want someone with a big back gun.
You're not wrong. As I was saying, for our audience, fun fact: the lore explanation for why, what are they called? The ATM-6 or something along those
Yep.
lines?
That is exactly what they're called.
The ATM-6s are designed that way to counter a tactic that the Rebel Alliance used against the Empire. I'm pretty sure exactly once. In the
Oh, is it the
Civil War.
wrapping?
Look, man.
It was the tow cables.
If you trip my walkers, you better be damn sure that the next time I build an empire, I'm not letting that shit happen again. I don't care if they look dumb as fuck. You ain't tripping my walkers, man.
Or better,
Oh, wait,
I
can I
mean-
change my answer to the fucking porgs? God, I hope all of those
What the-
burn in hell.
What the hell is your guys' problem?
I don't like them.
They're just birds,
And here I
man.
thought the porgs were like one of the
They're
more
okay.
well-received parts of that movie.
I don't
Marin's
like
just
the
a
porgs. They're
loser.
just there to be cute, and they're annoying.
just worse
I don't like 'em.
Ewoks. I don't hate them. They're just worse Ewoks.
Yet
Oh,
another
worse
Yeah,
Ewok.
they're strictly worse because they have they have no functional use, except for one of them gets eaten by Chewbacca.
Yeah, Marin, what's
Another-
your functional use? Sorry.
Why do you have me in this podcast, you dumbass?
To make fun of
Idiot
you.
mostly.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was saying, fun fact for our viewers yet again, the reason why the porgs were so heavily involved in that film was because the island they were filming on was a native habitat for, I believe it was puffin penguins. And they couldn't remove them from the island because they're protected. So they
So they
had to film
CGI'd
around
over them.
Yeah, and where they couldn't
my
film around
God.
them, they had to CGI them.
No,
That
that's
explains so much. That's all classic Puffin behavior.
cute. All right, I'll take back what I said about the porgs then, knowing that they're actually puffins.
Alright,
They are puffins.
Sonata. You gotta make a change. What are you changing?
Am I allowed to piggyback off the previous change?
Theoretically, sure.
Okay. This film starts off with the aftermath of the attack against Hosnian Prime, and the rest of the film is built around essentially the main cast trying to figure out who, like, perhaps part of the plot can be they have to find out who the leader is of the local cell of this terrorist organization that caused so many casualties, with hopes of getting information on other cells being among the forefront of all of this. What I would change the most about this movie is that I realize I neglected to mention Luke or the search for him at all the last time. This would be, I think, the movie to actually have found Luke. To be like, hey, we need the Jedi back because we're kind of getting our asses kicked by our own tactics here. And also we could use your help with tracking down some of these people that are killing innocents and causing chaos and disorder wherever they go. I feel like the way this film ends is with them discovering that this cell is a part of something much bigger, something that has been being built up for an amount of time, very similar to how the Rebel Alliance was built up. Just all of these people that are discontent with the New Republic, partially because they can't properly defend their worlds, maybe also partially just because of those old anti-alien / pro-human sentiments that the Empire thrived off of. Like, this sounds so weird to say out of context, but you don't get rid of slavery, or not slavery, I'm sorry. That is also true, but you don't get rid of racism overnight. Like, that's always going to be something that's a problem. And when you give people like that something to, back, something to stand with, they're always going to come out of the woodwork. That, I think, would be what I would change, piggybacking off the previous film.
Alright. If you couldn't piggyback off the previous answer, what would you do? Because you did just, rewrite the whole movie. So...
I did. So, what I'm going to take away from this film, with all other changes moot, it's obvious to say I would remove Canto Bight from the equation, but here's what else I would remove from the equation. I don't remember what it was called. The planet where the ATM-6s were and that whole battle took place on. Crate. Remove the crate sequence as well. Just let the Resistance continue to be on the run. Let them have to...
And miss out on Luke fighting in quotation marks?
As much as it pains me to say it, yes.
What the fuck is the climax of this movie, then?
That's the thing, I don't know. And that makes me sad, but I always felt like the crate sequence was always a little bit, shoehorned in is the best term I can put it, because it's obviously meant to be, a mirror to the Battle of Hoth. And always just kind of felt arbitrary to me. That's what I've always thought. It's just that Canto Bight takes a higher priority for removal than Crate.
I feel like... I almost wonder if your feelings towards Crate don't just stem from where it is in the movie, given the fact that you've just had to sit through a pointless 30-minute casino sequence. And it's you can feel that you're starting to get to the end of the movie, and then you're like, holy shit, we still have this whole battle to go. I almost wonder if that's not what it is, because I don't see the battle of. I don't know how to call it arbitrary. I just simply don't. Um,
Yeah, it could be it. It could just also be at the point in when I was in the theater, I just wanted the movie to end, and that is incredibly sad as a Star Wars fan to say that I want a Star Wars film to end, but it was true.
I mean, yeah.
yeah. My only problem is you remove Crate, the the story just has no conclusion, and that's something that even even movies that have that are parts of a greater whole, they still need their own story to conclude. Books are the same way. It's very rare that I've ever left a movie that like doesn't have a proper like ending to its own internal story satisfied. I think Across the Spider Verse kind of does it, but even then, I think it also just wraps up its own part of the story.
Yeah, it wraps up its own arc fairly well, so that's not quite the same.
Yeah, and that's the closest I can think of to like it just ends on a colossal hit cliffhanger where it's like they've already kind of like started the next movie's plot, and I think that's what it is. So that's like if you I think if you remove the Battle of Crate, you still have to insert a battle there because at the end of the day, it is Star Wars. You need something that causes the resistance to really go on the run. Um, because the whole thing is if you remove Crate, they're just floating in space with no fuel. There's no. If you remove Crate, then theoretically the movie just ends with them all dying because the First Order catches them. That's kind of why I'm like, you gotta have a battle here, and that's why I don't feel like Crate is that
That's fair.
arbitrary. But remove Canto Bite, yeah.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I would change about Crate, if I had to change something about Crate, I know this is a controversial take, but let Finn sacrifice himself and let it matter, because it kind of felt to me like
Stop reading my notes.
I know that the people behind the film said that his sacrifice would have meant nothing, but I would have liked it better if, like, I hate to say this, I do, because I love the potential that Finn had, but I have to ask this of you guys. If he sacrificed himself at the Battle of Crate to disable whatever the fuck that thing was, I truth be told can't remember, would you have felt that that would have been at least an alright end to his character?
Yeah, I mean, from literally running to the First Order to literally running into them is like a pretty alright character. Because in the first movie, he is very much, I just want to be away from everything. I'm scared. To, I've found a cause that I'm ready to die for. And let him die for it. Let him die so his friends get away. If he dies there, the miniature little battering ram Death Star cannon goes down. Luke doesn't really have a purpose to hologram himself in. So like I get why they kept him alive. God, does that scene suck?
It's one of the worst in the whole damn film, and that's saying something for me.
No, I think it might be up there. Despite the fact that I like this movie, it might be one of the worst of the franchise. Rose's fucking line there, it's so bad.
I just want to say real quickly up front, I have nothing against the actress whatsoever. she did beautifully with the script she was given,
Yeah.
and I harbor no ill will towards her or anyone else involved in these films. They were dealt the shittiest hands possible by the dealer, and they had no choice but to play with them.
I thought we were cutting the Canto Bite sequence. Why are we making gambling references again?
Because that's the best analogy I can think of on top of my head.
Yeah, I know. I'm being a shit.
Just
Alright,
put that out
Marin.
there.
I do believe it's finally your turn. So now I got to answer the question twice.
You're good.
Sorry, okay.
No, you're all good.
You brought this up whenever we watched them yesterday, but I genuinely think that I would love this change. And
Are you gonna steal my fucking answer?
I don't know. Is it gonna be bring back the spy subplot?
Yes.
Sorry.
Wait, hold on.
Sorry.
Do you have a specific spy in mind?
Yes.
You're such a bitch. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. We'll let you save that for that because I do have one other thing. It's
All right.
set up the First Order spy now instead of just have it thrown in the next movie. Set up Hux being a spy in this movie, and then whenever you get to have it just be Finn and Rose, not the Codebreaker, whatever the fuck his name was, not the worst stuttering guy known to mankind. Have it be Hux helping them behind the scenes. And then you still don't know who the spy is by the end of the film, but you definitely know that there is a spy among the ranks of the First Order that is trying to help out, that is helping out the Resistance in one way or another.
Would you say that there is an imposter among us?
Shut the fuck up.
Oh,
And bring back the...
Oh my god. The red one is sus.
Go to hell. Go to hell.
Pretty sure I saw red vent.
I will leave. I swear to God. Can I finish my other point? Jesus,
No.
Harold.
No. Not allowed.
Have regained their breath, and maybe.
Not allowed. Ben.
I'll mute up. Just go.
So that, and then bring back the Stormtrooper Rebellion.
Where are you fitting the Stormtrooper Rebellion in this movie?
That's a good
towards
point.
the end, like where it originally was. Have
I'm like,
Finn,
where are you getting that there's a... I don't ever remember hearing about a Stormtrooper Rebellion being in... Oh, you're talking about the single deleted... That's not a rebellion.
Yeah.
When you say rebellion, I think of the original script for the next movie, where it's like more than two dudes.
This little...
Yeah. Okay.
These few guys.
Yeah. Restore the deleted scene where Finn goes, hey, Phasma deactivated the shields. She's actually bad, lol. And they turn, You keep calling it you kept calling it a Stormtrooper Rebellion,
sorry,
and I was like,
that's
not
what I intended. I want the fact that Finn is the only Stormtrooper that we see have any doubts for 2 movies, and then we just get like a random fucking entire troop of them in the next one.
Yeah.
Always has kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I want to see more evidence of the fact that the First Order doesn't have full control over these guys. Because in the first film, there's a throwaway line where it's like, Kylo Ren and Hux are talking, and Kylo Ren's like, you need to get your guys under control, or like, we should have just used clones. Give some actual weight to that line. Give more to that.
Well, it's...
Have a super... Go for it.
It's the instant that you put faces under the masks of the faceless men, you have a problem where now the audience always has that in mind, and to see, even in the first movie, Finn just blitzing through stormtroopers, cutting them down, and it's like, well, Finn, these guys could be just like you, and they could be doubting. You don't know that. Like, and you're just shoving a lightsaber through this guy's chest. You show no remorse when your former squad mate gets gunned down. Um,
Listen, I think it would be a cool thing to explore, but these aren't
it.
necessarily the movies to do it.
Yeah, well, I almost think that sometimes, I do like the morally gray in Star Wars, but I feel like that should almost be for expanded content, and because I think trying to muddy down the movies with like outright trying to explore, oh, the rebellion might be the bad guy. It's like, I feel like the general Star Wars movies are always kind of supposed to be cliche, good versus bad. If it's got a number in its name, I'm expecting it to be cliche, good guys versus bad guys in some capacity.
Valid.
Whereas you let Andor and Rogue One handle, oh, well, realistically, of course the rebellion's going to be a little dirty.
What? No, the rebellion's always been clean. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, some people that try to be good, some people that believe in order to beat your enemy, you have to be like them. And that's an interesting thing. I think the Star Wars movies, the mainline ones, I don't know.
Hashtag Luthen did nothing wrong.
If you're trying to explore, at the very least, you just got to commit to an idea and not just make one maskless one stormtrooper with a conscience, and the rest of them are apparently all robots. Yes. So Donovan, what change would you make?
To be honest, as with everyone else, we scrap Canto Bite, replace it with, I don't know, one of your fellas' ideas of Hux helping them or whatever. It does not matter to me what what that part of the plot line's replaced with. But I think, just like using the sum of the time, not all of it, because I don't think the movie needs to be a full 2.5 hours.
It's 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it needs that full runtime. But using maybe 10 minutes of that, just expanding the space battle above Crate, give us more context for them running out of fuel, so it doesn't feel like, because that, to me, to be fair, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it felt to me at the time like it was a very contrived, suddenly out of fuel.
Well, one of the things that I pointed out when we were watching it yesterday was it makes sense that they have to deal with fuel, right? Or even the fact that they're like, that aboard Snoke's ship, they're like, yeah, well, they can't outrun us, but they can keep us at a range where our guns don't do anything against their shields for the time being. All of that makes sense, because I feel like plasma-based weaponry wouldn't hold its heat in space forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's gonna dissipate. I think. I don't know. I'm not a physicist or a chemist or a astrologist.
My understanding is heat isn't the issue. It's maintaining the shape of the charge is the issue.
Okay, yeah. Similar thing. It makes sense, but the problem is that Star Wars hasn't really abided by this logic, especially in the mainline movies, and to suddenly start doing so now makes it feel weird. So I get that.
Do a bigger space battle ahead of time that turns into this chase, so that you can see and maybe start establishing shots of, like, on the bridges of fuel gauges of some variety. Just make that section leading into Crate make a bit more sense. Scrap Canto Bite, use that time to make your climax work better. You can still do the Holdo maneuver, and it's just which gets you a nice, awesome CG set piece to finish out the fight. Before you transition to the next beat.
Sorry, I did miss the tail end of that because I got up to get a drink, but yeah, from what I got, yeah, because I know they show some of it, but like the goddamn resistance fleet is so small. I feel like it's a lot smaller in this movie than it's implied to be. So as they're fleeing, their ships are kind of just getting swatted as they go through the movie. You know, like there's medical ships that get blown up, or the occasional like support ship that, you know, they evacuate everybody onto the main ship and it gets blown up, kind of thing. They should have had a commander who had the balls to just turn and like start fighting. It also doesn't help that the supremacy is so damn big that I feel like any fight
Oh, yeah.
is like,
Maybe tone down the size of that ship by 25%,
yeah, something like that.
because that puts it much more reasonable. Like, what it actually is the can size of that ship?
Oh,
Big.
yeah, huge. Because I don't know the specific units. I can get them, but because it was like its wingspan was like the size of the rest of the First Order fleet.
If I recall correctly, don't quote me on this because I could easily be wrong, but I do believe that it was established that the wing size is roughly half the diameter of the first Death Star. Though I could be wrong on that.
It is it is 300. Wait, let me double check this. It is 6,000 meters shorter than the Executor, but is 60,500 meters wide.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds about right for what I was saying.
You know, it's
'Cause-
a casual 3 Executors wide.
it's 13,000
and about
meters
one long.
from
Yeah.
from nose to ass.
And 60,500 meters from tip
Yep.
to tip.
From tip to tip. Yeah, the ship did not need to be that big, and I think that would have played into like a feasible space. Because I mean, the rebellion managed to stand against the Executor, and we're going old school at this. But have you guys tried to fight the fucking Executor in Empire at War?
Yes.
That thing's like impossible. It's so
Yeah, no.
large, and it's like even the rebellion, I was never like, oh my god, there's no way they beat this ship. You know, they do have a suicide bomber take it down. But like
in Empire at War, it takes killing the rest of the Executor's support ships and then just spamming snub fighters at it.
Pretty much, yeah.
it's like you gotta at least make it seem like they have a chance. And I think and then it's like when they realize they don't, maybe they turn to flee, and it's like, oh shit, we've wasted a lot of fuel in the fight, doing evasive, and I like that, you know, because they are a disparate group on the run. I think it's just odd that they opted to spawn in, you know, the idea of fuel, or they didn't, you know, like spawn it in or anything, but it's like, here,
It suddenly matters now as opposed to at any time before.
Yeah. Alrighty, is it time?
Hit us with it.
Contrary to popular belief, we are not removing Canto Bite. We are keeping Canto Bite. The change I'm making is that Rose is the Imperial spy. And she's just running him around in circles, and that's what Canto Bite is.
I mean, at
That's what I was
least
gonna
it
mention.
justifies
That
it.
it was Justice's idea, so I figured I'm sorry.
And Moon wanted to steal my idea.
I'm sorry.
Shame on you, Marin.
It makes sense when she crashes into Finn to stop him, and then uses that corny ass line, which I don't have an issue with the line itself. I just have an issue with the line in the instance in which it's delivered, because in that particular instance, it's not very true. It's a good sentiment, like to remember that in a very large scope, that's kind of the Jedi point of view, is you're not when you fight people, you're never doing it because you want to destroy them, because you hate them. You need to be doing it because you are protecting, the innocent and the ones you love. It's a good sentiment. It just doesn't work when you've prevented the guy from crashing into the cannon that's going to blow open the door and allow the First Order to kill all your friends, because they're about to win by destroying what they hate. I don't know the specifics of how Rose would be revealed to be this bad. I mean, maybe you cut out the stuttery guy entirely, and in the jail cell, you start getting like hints of like, maybe there's more than she leads on when she's like, well, we don't have the code breaker, but I think I could try it. And then they just get to the Star Destroyer or the Supremacy, and she just is like, hey, by the way, yeah. But maybe it's like just a lot of like minor fishy stuff where it's like, oh, there's you cut out Benicio del Toro's character, but still have like we checked in on that information and we did run the decloaking scan, and you've got Rose vehemently like, no, I didn't tell him. Finn, did you tell him? No? How did they know? I think that running the spy plot, though, also fixes another big issue, and that's just Admiral Holdo. Because right now, she's kind of unnecessarily antagonistic to Poe. Sure, Poe blew up a large portion of their fighter craft, but like 90% of the time, he is kind of just like, dude, can I know what's going on? Can we know what's going on? Because it's looking like shit for us, man. Like, we ain't got a plan. We ain't got any hope. And she does nothing but like make fun of him. And it's like, but if she's kind of like playing the cards close to the chest, because there's a lot of suspicion going on in high command that there's a spy aboard, and maybe that filters through. Poe figures out, and he's like, oh, this makes sense. Let's do some investigating. I might actually end up adding more runtime to this movie inadvertently. Or you cut down on a little of Canto Bite, where the audience gets a glimpse into, okay, maybe Rose is kind of just running Finn around here, but Finn doesn't realize, kind of thing. But I think you make her the spy, you run the spy subplot, people suspect on the fuck is that ship called? Oh, it's called the Radis, I think. After the guy in Rogue One. The Radis. And it's like, okay, so you can get why she's way more... she's kind of informal and frayed, because not only are they, at the end of the line, there's a spy aboard, and she doesn't know who she can trust. Poe doesn't know who he can trust. Maybe fucking Admiral Holdo's the spy. And then, maybe in the back end of the movie, maybe it's not till the next movie that you find it out that she's the spy. But I think she should have been the spy. I think there should have been a spy subplot, and that justifies Admiral Holdo. I think in a certain way that justifies Canto Bite a little more, because, like, in theory, doing the whole, well, you guys just lost idea is interesting. In a Star Wars movie, it feels like such a waste of time. And I've seen it better executed, namely Empire Strikes Back, just the entire movie. That is probably also bring back General Pride again. Include him here. I think you start having Hux feed information. Hux is who reveals it. Hux is who reveals
give
Rose.
us the double reveal of Hux and Rose.
Hux anonymously leaks it. Maybe it's in the beginning of the next movie. I don't know. I don't even know how I want to tackle the next movie. But it's only after Snoke's dead, because he, contrary to popular belief, does not like to be choked by Kylo Ren. Yeah, minor character changes here. My version of Hux does not like to be choked by Kylo Ren. Sorry.
Mine does, as God
But
intended.
there you go. Yeah, it's just somebody intended. I don't know who though. That's my what I would do the Last Jedi. I think. Maybe I'd also give a fucking time skip, because I feel like Star Wars movies do better when they have time skips between the movies and not picking up right where the last movie left off. Because that allows your characters to kind of organically grow and just say that they did it off screen. Because I mean, everybody accepted it when Luke did it between Episode 5 and Episode 6 and came back a half different character.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're on to the last one?
Sonata, tell me something that you like the most from The Rise of Skywalker.
So the difficult part is that I'll be upfront. The Rise of Skywalker is my least favorite of all three of them. So I legitimately have trouble remembering any bits I enjoy, like really enjoy. But if there's one thing that kind of made me feel good inside for a grand total of maybe about 30 seconds, it was the Citizen's Fleet reveal.
Okay.
Just like that whole concept of the Resistance has no fleet. It's not a fleet, sir. It's just people. And I just love to have, like, that one meme of SpongeBob of just the entire galaxy is just going to Palpatine. How many times do we need to teach you this lesson, old man?
Yeah.
That part tugged at the heartstrings a little bit. But I'd be hard pressed to tell you any other moment in that mess of a film that made me happy or like it.
Okay. Marnathy.
I do like the Citizen's Fleet a lot. I think that's really cool. I'm also trying to think of another standout scene, because I don't know if this is a hot take or not. The movie's not bad. I like Rey and Kylo Ren's fight on the remains of the second Death Star. I think it looks cool.
When we watched it, I rewinded. We were like halfway into the fight, and I'll bring up more of this point later. But I played Duel of the Fates over the fight, and it was like 10 times better.
It was.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that Rey has a bit of a moment where she's like, "Fuck you guys, this is my shit." She has. I like that kind of moment of, yeah, Rey's not perfect. She's never been perfect. Right here, she is just straight up being selfish. And it's at this moment where she's being the most selfish that we've seen her that she has one of the most balls to the walls fights that she has with Kylo Ren. And she also sees the dark side version of herself. So
I would let the. Never mind. I'm not.
Different part of the
Yeah.
internet.
uh, okay. Alright. We can jive with those. Not a van. Probably been a while. What do you like most about this movie?
Even though it's
Silence.
bad, when Jonathan's silent.
I mean, I don't. I. As the others have mentioned, the Citizens Fleet is a all right moment. The uh, the festival on Pasana isn't terrible either. Just like the not the stuff that happens in the festival. I don't remember what happens in the festival, but the actual like visuals of the festival itself are half interesting. That's the best I got, unfortunately.
My favorite
I have
scene in
not
the
seen it since it
movie
came out.
is right after the festival.
Flying out?
No,
we should have seen that coming a mile away.
well, they should have seen flying stormtroopers coming a mile away, but apparently jetpacks don't exist anymore.
Actually, can I change my favorite part of this movie? It's the fact that Mr. Monaghan's in it. We get Marietta Brandy Book in it.
We do get Mary. We get Pip from Game of Thrones.
Right.
We also get.
He's-
When do we get
he's-
Lysa Arryn?
Lysa
came out
Arryn was
last
the
movie?
last movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as much as I don't like the idea of resurrecting the main villain, Palpatine's screen presence was great in this movie. He felt like Palpatine. He got to do some batshit cool Sith stuff. Like shoot lightning at an entire fleet of ships. It was cool. It was very
Man was
Palpatine.
chewing the scenery.
Yeah, as much as like I'm like, oh god, they brought Palpatine back. At least Palpatine was cool on the fucking screen. You know,
I'll back that.
Yeah.
Palpatine's actor is
yeah.
one of the highlights of the movie.
Ian McDiarmid kills it. I don't even think Palpatine was written badly or anything. Palpatine was written like Palpatine. Maybe a little overindulgent in his plans, which has led me to the theory that the Sith like spirit passing thing just requires consent. Even the Sith recognize consent because he keeps fucking telling people to kill them or to kill him when they're already willing to kill him. And then he's like, hey, kill me and, you know, you can take my place or whatever. And then they're like, well, why would I do that? That sounds bad. And then they don't kill him. It's like, if this dude just shut his mouth, like, go, I don't know. He's funny. But yes, Palpatine, I think, absolutely kills it in this movie. Alright, Sonata. One thing that you dislike the most. One thing.
Oh god, there is such a long list of them. There's such
One
a
thing.
long fucking list. Okay,
One thing.
give me a second. Okay. I dislike the fleet of planet-destroying Star Destroyers. Like, that is probably my biggest
Okay.
complaint. And I know I'm basically copying over what my biggest complaint was from Force Awakens, but I'll say it again. Enough with the planet-destroying super weapons already.
Hey, viewers, do you remember when I said we'd talk about him again?
2,000 of them again.
Yeah.
Just enough with them. They've been done to death. Let something different be done, please.
I genuinely think you could remove the planet-killing weapon, and that's still a massive threat. It's like, Jesus Christ, we've been
Yeah.
fighting the First Order for years, and you're telling me they just have a gazillion more Star Destroyers and wait? New designs.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Get rid of the cannon, and I'd be much more okay with them.
yeah.
Okay, so hear me out. They make this thing called the Eclipse.
I'm gonna throw you out a window, pick you back up, and then throw you out the window again.
Only if you do it from the top of the meme.
Oh no. Yeah, no, that's fair. I understand. Sonata does not like planet-killing weapons. Make sure to write them into every campaign I run from here on out.
And just like that, I am never playing Injustice's games again.
Marn.
Your upside.
What do you like least about this movie?
What do I like least about this film? Fucking space horses. I think the idea of the ground assault is just so silly. And like this is a Star Wars movie, but they are deploying horses on a Star Destroyer. Bro, what?
You know, on one side, that's such a Chad move. On the other side,
What
What
the
if we
fuck?
just
That's
tipped
something
the
you
Star
would do.
Destroyer?
Yeah, exactly. That genuinely is something that rubs me the wrong way every single time I watch that movie. I watched the movie like 3 or 4 times now. I'm just like, why? What is the purpose of the horses? Why do they have to be horses? Like, why? Just
'Cause
like
they were all out of speeders, and they only had the entire stormtrooper company and their horses.
I know. I just don't. I think the idea of the ground assault was just like, we gotta shoehorn this in because we need the spectacle of it, which is like a lot of Star Wars. But horses on a Star Destroyer, I think, takes it a step too far, in my opinion. And that's
I
very much a personal preference sort of thing. It's not like bad; it just takes me out of it every time.
I just thought it was really weird too because they're like, because the original plan within the movie, right? Like the thing that Finn and
Oh,
no, not Poe, Janna, the
yeah.
girl that Lando pervs on later. um, uh, they because the original goal was that they were going to drop onto the surface and destroy that tower. My question is, why did they ever need ground forces? Why can you not just send a one fucking torpedo at that antenna? Which is never like there's no good reason given. There's not even a reason
that's
given.
also a question you could point at. That's also a question that you could point at Return of the Jedi. Why didn't they just carpet bomb the fuck out of the shield installation?
Well,
I get that.
you're not wrong.
I wonder though if generally shield generators are inside the. Okay, I can't say that because that's only like half true in this franchise.
Yeah, because in return it's specifically a shield generator. And if a couple of fucking detonite charges can bust it.
Yeah, but the detonite charges were inside, like on the power, and a shield that big would need a lot of. So it's like I can bullshit Star Wars logic. That one, the antenna for them to go, because the logic is literally they need this antenna so the Star Destroyers know which way is up, and they just realize that that's what the resistance is going for, and shut it off. And
Yeah, they switch it to the
so
command.
General Pride is like, oh, we'll just take them out ourselves. And it's like, well, if you guys can just visually pilot your ships up, why don't everybody do it? Yeah. Or, like, I don't know. It's like, it's goofy. It feels more contrived than the shield generator. To get just the ground forces doing ground forces things.
Yeah.
Fuck it, they should have just reused the shield generator idea because they were like, oh yeah, the ships don't have shields because of the atmosphere. So I think the more interesting thing would have, all right, well, here's an external shield generator to help them get through. And this would explain why, for some reason, during the first half of this fight, they don't target the guns on the Star Destroyers. That is the weakness later in the movie. The entire resistance just kind of flies around in circles. They don't really do anything. And it's not until Lando and the Citizens Fleet show up that they start targeting the planet-killing weapons, which are, of course, the one-tap weak point.
Look, man, that weakness wasn't written into the plot until after Lando arrived. It's not their fault.
Oh, yeah.
So,
What's up,
I
Marn's
hate-
critique?
oh,
Yeah, this is all spawned from Marn's critique. We have not done
Sonata.
that
Yeah.
yet.
yeah.
What were you gonna say? You hate to be that guy.
I mean, I hate to play the devil's advocate here, but I don't
no.
remember. Like, I truthfully don't remember. How big was the resistance force that went into Exegol?
At least 6.
I mean, they weren't that small. There are several instances where they fly close enough to the guns that they could have shot the single torpedo
Easily
at
be able to
them
shoot them, yeah.
that it would have taken to blow them up. That's my point.
Yeah, so I just did that so I can say I tried to be devil's advocate once for this podcast.
Jesus.
I'm
All right, Donovan. What was one thing you hate? That's the question we're on, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
was-
We haven't even started talking about changes.
Yeah.
I have 2 big things. One of them is just like a philosophy thing. I'll leave that one for later. I think I've expressed it to you guys before. That doesn't matter. What I hate most is this goddamn Sith Wayfinder dagger thingy happening to line up with the wreckage of the second Death Star, which happens to tell you where fucking Exegol is. That 3PO happens to know how to read, but just happened to not be allowed to read. Oh
It's
my
the fucking
gosh!
Kamino
what
and
a
Dart all
strange
over
s-
again.
What a
Yeah.
strange set of coincidences.
It's like,
I wonder how Anakin programmed a dead language into
Okay.
this droid.
Donovan, that last one does not fly.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
take that one.
That
'Cause-
was me. That was me just spewing bullshit. That last one was no.
Because for all of you at home, Anakin did not manually program 6 million languages into C-3PO. C-3PO was an already existing protocol droid that he just fixed very heavily up. He was, a scrap.
Yeah.
But it's still just like a standard issue protocol droid box in there, That's why.
The real question is, who the fuck programmed Sith, ancient Sith,
Into a protocol droid.
into the standard protocol droid package,
Furthermore,
and then decided
if
it was
it's-
illegal to use?
if it's illegal, why is it in there? I'll accept that aspect of I fucking hate when people go, why did Anakin program that? No, you fucking dum-dum. And it's like, there are certain aspects of it where it's like, is it stupid? Maybe a little. Do I get it? Yeah, because, the dagger has literally very specific instructions on it on where to go on Kefbir. It's got specific headings, so I get why Rey was standing in that point. What I imagine is that Ochi of Bestoon sat out there with a little drawing pad to draw out this fucking knife design with the wreckage, and it sounds stupid, but it's not, entirely implausible. It is just this leapfrog set of Kamino and Dart coincidences that I don't feel bad about critiquing some of these or hearing the critiques, knowing that we have dissected the bullshit that is the first half of Attack of the Clones. Because that's all I ask of people, is that critique these movies, you must critique the other ones for the same reasons. But yes, the fucking dagger is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
It is goofy.
I've got other
yeah.
major issues with this movie, but that's the big one. Is this entire plot around this goddamn fucking piece of garbage.
I don't think it necessarily feels as pointless as like Canobite. It is funny that Rey finally gets one and then immediately Kylo Ren just he just crushes it.
Thinks it. Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of funny.
It was mildly amusing. I'll give you that.
Yeah. All right. One of my biggest ones. John Williams dropped the fucking ball in this movie so hard. 90% of that Death Star fight is not scored at all. There's no music in the background.
That's why we put Duel of the Fates
That's why I
over
put
it.
Duel of the Fates over, and it literally improved the fight tenfold. And no, it's because they announced that they were gonna be using lots of existing motifs in the movie. They were gonna bring back all kinds of things, and everything just fell flat because I'm sorry that, and it sucks because this is like the one Star Wars movie that they actually got a John Williams cameo in. He's in this movie, and it's the one where I think he did the worst work. And I hate saying that John Williams did bad work because I love his music, but I genuinely think that it's terrible.
I'm sorry. Who was he?
He was the bartender on Kajimi when they go in to meet Babu Frick. He's got like 20 frames. Yep.
I missed that completely.
He's got like an eyepiece. He's got an eyepiece on him, so I can get why first time viewing you'd miss him, and if you haven't seen it again. No, I remember watching that fucking lightsaber duel in the theaters though, and being like, "Hey, is this missing soundtrack? There's nothing here." It's like, obviously I understand that movies don't need music playing at every moment, because they don't. But it's like half to 3/4 of that fight barely have any music. And let me tell you, good music can lift a mediocre project to a good project on its own. Yeah. Imagine what original Star Wars would have been if it just had alright music, you know? And I just think
the world without binary sunset.
You really don't need to look that far. The first Star Trek movie. It's the first Star Trek movie. This is probably a hot take. I'm sorry, Star Trek fans. Is mediocre at best.
You know what, Donovan? I'll back you on that.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie by any means. It's got an intriguing plot. It's well put together. The cast is well assembled. They all play their parts well. But what's dragging it down is the score. The original Star Trek movie and A New Hope came out so close together, and to be fair, this might be my own bias in a general Star Wars preference and more exposure to Star Wars, but I cannot name a single song or track from Star Trek. I cannot identify them by sound either. I cannot listen to a track and say, "Oh, that's Star Trek." Whereas I can hear Star Wars, most tracks from Star Wars, and I can say, "Oh, that sounds like it's probably from Star Wars," even if I don't know for certain.
Yeah,
Music is huge for the presentation of cinema.
That's why
there's
there's awards for it.
there's nothing new to the soundtrack really either. Although I have found pieces that are new. In fact, like half the pieces that are new are actually in the official soundtrack that I do not remember hearing in the movie at all. And that's kind of the issue with repeatedly bringing back just old motifs. Is like, yes, motifs are good. Obviously, motifs are what made Star Wars so brilliant. However, you also got to rely on original composition as well. For another Game of Thrones reference, it's as much as I love the Game of Thrones reference, or the Game of Thrones reference, the Game of Thrones like music and the earlier seasons of the show. There are times where I feel like he relies too much. I do not remember how to say the composer's name. My apologies.
Dijwandi.
Yeah, Dijwadi? I think it's Dijwadi. He kind of just overuses motifs. Like, anytime there's a Stark on the fucking screen, the Stark motif plays. Like, we get it. They're a Stark. Play something else. Prison Break, which is what I've been watching recently, is also scored by him. And has the same problem. And it's like, that's kind of where Rise of Skywalker falls. Is like, hey, look, it's Leia's theme again. You couldn't even give me a sad enough rendition of Leia's theme when she died. Like, it's kind of just Leia's theme, and it was. That's. I had another thing. I totally forgot. I had another thing that I wanted to bring up that nobody else brought up, and I don't
can bring
remember.
up my second thing if we want to.
Oh,
extend
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I have a problem with. I mean, on one hand, it does kind of gel. This does kind of gel together properly. But just I have a problem with Rey being a Palpatine, only because it half contradicts the entire point of the mirror scene in the last movie.
I'll have to back
Because
them here as well.
on one hand, it is saying, yeah, you can rise above your family. Which, yeah, that's cool. But at the same time, a large part of that mirror scene was, at least in my interpretation, to show, hey, you don't have to be from one of these big important families that Star Wars is known for to be able to affect the galaxy. And then it turns out that that person that is being told this, that is trying to be taught this, that is trying to teach the audience this, actually is from one of those big families.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm kind of with that too.
I liked her better being a nobody. Because we've already done the overcome your family and stay good thing.
That was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was pretty much like one of the major bits of Luke, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's Luke. Is because obviously, like the first and the first movie of his is I'm just generic good guy. I won't ever fall to the dark side. The second movie is, oh well, I'm scared for my friends. Fear leads to the dark side. I gotta be cautious about that. And the third is, shit. This kind of runs in my blood that I have the propensity to fall to the dark side. Will I fall? Or will he come back? We've done this before. I mean, obviously they weren't going to redeem Palpatine, but...
Okay, but hear me out.
That would have been really funny. That would have been hilarious. Hey, Donovan, you know what you should bring up for your change?
I remember a change that we talked about.
Shut up. We're not there yet.
Keep Rey dead. Keep Rey dead. Have Ben Solo live with the consequences of his actions.
Aaron?
Well, I guess we're just skipping ahead to that part, huh?
Yeah, Sonata, you don't get to talk
sorry.
about changes you get to make.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I told you. We weren't there yet. And you just went ahead anyways.
I'm
How
so
could you?
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yes. Things I don't like is kind of the resurrection. The kiss was also incredibly cringe.
Oh yeah, no. That entire dynamic is very rapey, in my opinion.
Yes. Viewers, do not feel obligated to kiss your abusers. That's very weird. Sonata,
First message.
what's one thing that you would change about this movie? One thing.
I'll be a good boy, and I won't piggyback off of my previous two concepts.
Yeah, Sonata's just rewriting the damn sequel trilogy at this point, which, no, I'll do that.
Okay, I'll be a good boy. Alright, here's what I would change. It's a very minor change, all things considered. Instead of making each and every single one of these fucking Star Destroyers a planet-destroying superweapon, just have them be more advanced warships. Like, the most advanced warships the galaxy's ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, to borrow something from Legends, make them like the Katana fleet. I mean, the First Order doesn't exactly have, like, a giant amount of, like, personnel to man every ship. They're just slave-circuited, and they have cutting-edge weapons, cutting-edge shields, cutting-edge engines, the whole shebang. They are the best of the best. Do that! That's better! That actually keeps them as a very valid threat, but doesn't rehash the same thing all over again. I'm sorry, I probably sound like a broken record here.
No.
You're good.
I mean, I think I had mentioned that when you brought up the original point. It's just like, you can run the same plot without them needing the big gun on the bottom.
It's a broken record, but a record that's better broken.
Like, just, that's the one change I would make in this film if I could only make one change. It's just, let them just be the Katana Fleet 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been interesting. Because, yeah, I mean, you can still get that whole Kojima effect of where they, like, blow up the planet. You can still get them orbital bombarding the planet and get the same effect. And it like, lessens the kind of, like, hyper unbelievability of Babu Frick and Lady, I forget her fucking name, Zori, escaping the planet and just happening to get away. It's like, well, you know, I get how people can escape an orbital bombardment if they're lucky enough.
Also, look, all I'm saying is I would pay good money to see a live-action Star Wars planetary bombardment, especially on the scale of, say, Terrace.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had something in my
too
throat.
would-
I had
I
something
too would
legend-shaped
pay
in my
good
throat.
We did get kind of graced, although it wasn't a traditional orbital bombardment. But I mean, we did get Mandalore getting blown up, which was cool in its own right, but they did it in an abnormal way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Millions upon millions of TIE bombers.
And nuclear bombs.
Yep.
Baron.
You can skip me because I already kind of went. I'm so sorry, my brain short-circuited. I thought we were ahead of where we were.
Yeah, it's all about you. Well, I mean, you
Fair,
can
we
talk
have
about
been
it
going
now.
For 2 hours.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
I'm
We're
so
2
sorry.
minutes away. Or a minute and a
I
half.
did not mean to skip you, Sonata. I feel really bad.
You better.
You should.
Yeah. I want Ben Solo to live with the consequences of his actions so bad because I am so tired of the redemption equals death trope, especially in Star Wars. God,
Alright.
just go for it.
Now that my turn has not been skipped, I agree with Marin.
Yeah. This is something I pointed out, too, when we were watching, is I don't... Like, my issue personally, and I'm treading on Marin's feet a little, but fuck you.
No, go for it.
Like, I don't have an issue with the whole Force heal thing. Rey deserves something for reading those fucking books when nobody else would.
The sacred texts.
Yeah, page turners, they were not. She deserves something for it. Give her force heal, and it's a fine enough explanation as to why nobody had it in the modern day, because the texts have been lost. Like, and so like I'm okay with that. I don't know. Maybe every once in a while, somebody in your main cast can. I think taking out Palpatine is a very valid trade to make.
Yeah.
And I totally agree that the idea of seeing the way I picture the scene is that he has to like get out of like the X-wing and cradle her body back to Agent Claus, and they're all just kind of like, "What the fuck is this guy doing here?"
It'd be
But
funny
anyway,
if they
we
just
started
straight up
blasting.
shot him.
Yeah.
No.
So when I use your dead
I-
friend as a meat shield. Sorry.
I would have loved if we could have, which unfortunately this is not feasibly possible due to Carrie Fisher's passing. In an ideal world where nobody dies ever, Ben Solo would have lived, reunited with Leia, and then Leia would have passed. And that would have been like the sort of passing of the torch. And then these next movies that we're supposed to be getting, or this next movie that we're supposed to be getting about Rey restarting the Jedi Order, would have been about Ben Solo dealing with the consequences of his actions.
Ah, yes. A war tribunal, followed shortly by his immediate execution.
Yeah.
Only for him to be promptly
I-
rescued on his way by a bunch of Mandalorians, and oops, he's just Gideon.
God damn it! Shut up, you're banned.
Somehow, Gideon returned.
Somehow Gustavo
Is that
Fring
gonna be the
returned.
plot of Mandalorian and Grogu the movie? Is just somehow Gideon Oh fuck's sake! Sorry, I need to.
Somehow Thrawn returned.
I need to deal with the. No, that's not that movie. That's a different movie.
Yeah.
I gotta deal with the existential dread of somebody making a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Hold on.
That's a different
My
episode.
turn now.
Donovan, it's your turn now.
Okay, so before I answer this question, I need confirmation. Are we trying to make the movie better or worse?
Better. Generally,
Okay, so
I
you
mean,
just so you just replaced Palpatine with Maul. No.
okay, calm down, George Lucas. Calm down.
Oh, that's good.
The real answer.
Ventress. Sorry. Topical
Yes,
resurrection.
To be honest, I think just a simple change that would make a lot of things better. It's actually two changes. I'd make two minor changes instead of one big change.
Yeah.
First of all, we just take our editing tools, and we just select the kiss scene, and we just press delete.
Okay. Based.
And then we do the same to any reference of the word Palpatine in reference to Rey.
Okay.
You want to know what the real crime was? They didn't make Rey, Finn, and Poe a polycule.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining that for every time that Rey Palpatine is spoken, the Palpatines just suddenly cut off with a black screen and no audio.
They never call her
Yeah,
Rey
just
Palpatine in the movie.
I know, but it'd be funny if that was what happened as a result of the thought of its change.
But Marin, in response to you, for legal reasons, I have to say no.
What was Marin's question?
Not the
I said the
polycule?
real change that needs to be made is just make Rey, Finn, and Poe a polycule.
Oh.
At least make Finn and Poe gay. Come on now. It was right there.
They deserve to be boyfriends.
Even the actors were down with it.
They're
Yeah.
even wearing each other's clothes.
Yeah.
Exactly!
We never see Rey wearing the jacket, so she can't be part of the relationship.
That's the only reason why.
Yeah,
Rey is
that is my reason. Yeah. Representation?
Yeah.
No jacket. Yes. But yeah, just in general, just the two minor changes of just nix the romance subplot because it's not really deserved for either character. They're like their arcs just don't allow for it in my opinion.
It's not even like a subplot. It's one scene and it's so weird. Like,
Well, I mean, you could if you're squinting and a misogynist, you could see Ben Swallow as flirting.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're squinting and also a misogynist.
if you're a fan fiction writer, you picked up on something, but fan fiction writers also ship the most ungodly things possible, so of course that inevitably happened.
Attorney fan can confirm.
Given that
Hey, they are so homosexual.
given that Luke and Din Djarin have all of 2 seconds of screen time interaction and they're shipped to high hell.
Yep. I've seen a lot of fics.
Yeah. Romance subplot.
Like I said, relatively minor changes because it's like cutting out like 3 scenes total. And it's not even cutting out the full scenes, it's just snippets of the scenes.
Alright. Yeah.
So what would you change, big man?
I got 2 minor changes at first, and I think I'm just snipping the... of course, we could do the whole Rey die as Ben doesn't thing. We don't have to. We'll cut the kiss, definitely no. We'll also cut out the arbitrary 16-hour time clock that they're given. Because it really just makes the movie make no sense, given that Rey runs all across the galaxy in 16 hours. Another thing I would do... No, don't to be fair this. There's no to be fairing. I want to hear what you had to say, though.
I was going to say, to be fair, it is not uncommon for Star Wars to have hyperdrives work at the speed of plot.
Yeah, but when you introduce a literal, like, confined time element, it's like, alright, well, now it's very obvious that they work at the speed of plot. Let's not do that because it doesn't add anything to the movie. I think the fleet of super weapon, super planet killer, Star Destroyer bitch asses is more than enough reason for them to want to kill the First Order as fast as they can. One big thing I would change... Rey doesn't rebuild the lightsaber. She does not heal the fucking crystal and tape the lightsaber back together off screen like she actually did. Instead, you get a little more of her training, her doing a little discovery, while the others kind of investigate Palpatine returning. And she builds her yellow lightsaber, and that's the lightsaber she uses throughout the movie. That's what I would do. I think it gives her a little more Jedi stuff to do before she runs off and fights, and is kind of symbolic of, letting the past die. We don't need to fix this lightsaber. We build new, because that's been the point. We don't fix the old Jedi. We build the new Jedi, and the lightsaber should be symbolic of that. Ultimately, the lightsaber kind of was symbolic of that, but she used it the whole damn movie because it's way cooler, and I want to see a yellow lightsaber on screen more. And it sounds cool.
Come on, it's the Youngling Slayer 9000, though.
Don't care, didn't ask, let it stay broken.
I will agree with that, though.
Palpatine's speech. I would play that at the beginning of the movie instead of only in Fortnite.
I'm gonna have to side with you there. Fun fact, I have never heard the speech because I never touched Fortnite.
I've never heard the speech.
There was a speech?
Yeah, so in the opening crawl of the movie, they mention that a speech was issued, and that's where the 16-hour deadline comes from. that they talk about in the beginning of the movie. And they did an in-game like Fortnite event where Palpatine delivered the speech, which cool in theory, except that that's the only place we ever got it.
Ooh,
I-
And so that's the
another
problem with it.
possible-
YouTube.
I came up with another possible minor change.
What's up?
I mentioned this whenever we were watching the film. Instead of Kylo Ren throwing away his lightsaber, have an on-screen lightsaber purification. Instead of him throwing away his only weapon.
I can see that. Yeah.
Give me more esoteric bullshit in these movies, please.
But I think it would be really cool to see him be like, here is this weapon that I have dealt so much pain with.
Yeah.
It's time for me to right my wrongs here and now, and this is going to be the first thing that I do, healing this crystal that I bled.
Yeah, because I mean, given that Rey could heal the lightsaber crystal using Force Heal that was broken in Anakin's lightsaber, Ben should be able to do the same thing to his cracked crystal in theory. And even if you want to do the damn resurrection, here's a little hint of like, oh, maybe he does have the power. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe he's learned it. He's used it on the lightsaber crystal, and you also get him walking around with a fucking cross-guarded white lightsaber,
which is cool.
That'd be kind of fun. That'd also be like, I mean, that's asking a lot from the movie, but
that is my my main choice in Jedi Survivor, by the way, is the cross guard with the white blade.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Very insightful commentary we've had today.
Yeah. My closing thoughts are, I didn't hate watching any of these movies. I had fun.
Same here.
I sat down and watched all three of them basically in a row. Marin was there too.
Yeah. It was enjoyable.
I was there for about 30 minutes of the first one.
Donovan was there for Luke Skywalker on crate.
Yes.
I wish I could close off. I'm sorry, Donovan. Do you want to go first?
I was going to be there for more, but I got bitch slapped by a group project meeting that was scheduled last minute.
Sorry to hear that.
We love school.
It is cool.
Or rather, as the cool people say it, shul.
So, I wish I could say the same thing that Justice and Marin have said. But truth be told, the prospect of rewatching these films only fills me with dread, because I know that while there will be parts of them I like, they will be vastly outnumbered by parts I just do not enjoy at all. And it sucks as a Star Wars fan to say that about 3 whole films of the franchise. It really does take away a part of my soul to say it, but it's also just true. I've tried my hardest to find something redeeming in these films, and while there are like a small bits of redeeming qualities here or there, overall, to me, they're just all terrible movies.
Yeah, my opinion is that I would rather watch all 3 of these movies before I watch Attack of the Clones.
Don't get me wrong, Attack of the Clones is bad, but I would go through Attack of the Clones again over watching the Rise of Skywalker again.
I'd watch any of these
Okay,
movies
but
instead of watching any episode of Clone Wars with Jar Jar Binks in it.
To be fair, that bar is so low that if you try to go under it, you're limbo dancing with the devil in hell.
They're not wrong.
I think I'd watch these movies over like the Obi-Wan show or season 3 of The Mandalorian. Or...
Yeah.
My takeaway from this is that I think really the only outright bad one, in my opinion, is Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's
the only one where I have to actually stop and think: would I rather watch it or Attack of the Clones, or the Jar Jar episodes? Because Force Awakens, like I said, is not in my opinions, is not a bad movie. I honestly think that Rise of Skywalker is not Rise of Skywalker. The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is better than The Force Awakens. They're probably solidly in the middle of my tier list. I haven't actually done a Star Wars movie tier list, and I probably should at some point. But it's I think the only bad. I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Sonata. I think the only truly bad one is Rise of Skywalker.
And that's fine. I think I'm just destined to be one of those sequel haters.
At least you're not an ass about it.
Yeah.
Once again, disclaimer: I hold nothing against the cast of any of these films
Cast
for
was
how they were done.
spectacular.
They did a wonderful job with what they were given.
Yeah.
I wish what they were given was better material.
Yeah, I used to be like super like I think currently the last tier list that I did, I put Rise of Skywalker at the bottom. And I was sitting there watching the movie yesterday. I kind of got to the end and I was like, I actually didn't mind sitting down and watching this movie. I didn't hate it. I poked fun at it the entire time as to I just poked little stupid things and I was like, oh, that's weird. I was just, but I didn't hate it. I had a fun time. I used to be a sequel hater. I just don't have the energy for it anymore. They're fun. My overarching thing is like if I could change one thing, I would give them a unified writer. I don't care if they have different directors, but a unified writer helps.
Sticking to one vision for 3 films would probably be the ideal solution. Yeah.
Because I mean,
Be beneficial.
visions change. You look at the original Star Wars movies. Obviously, visions change, but there's still a consistency to the idea that you don't get when you have. I think there's like 5 people at least, technically 6 maybe, attributed to writing the sequels. Because there's Kasdan and J.J. Abrams for Episode 7, Ryan Johnson wrote Episode 8, and then J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio wrote Episode 9, stealing influence from Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates script that exists. It exists. We should talk about that sometime.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I've never been a
Um,
sequel hater. The sequels were, I think, what really actually got me into Star Wars. Because I remember seeing the first movie when I was like 11 or 12. Or, not the first movie, the Force Awakens when I was like 11 or 12 in the movie theater. And I was like, I mean, I was probably like every 11-year-old kid who went to go see A New Hope for the first time. I was like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I've always sort of had this very much nostalgia rose-tinted glasses over these films. So I like them. Again, they're easy to poke holes into, but so is all of Star Wars, I feel.
yeah.
And yeah, I think I would. As much as I do love Attack of the Clones because of because of Camino and because of Geonosis, I do think that it has to be put underneath Rise of Skywalker. They're like tied. They're tied.
I think it's a weird experience hearing somebody call this sequels nostalgic. That's a weird feeling to have.
I'm the youngest sister, so
I know.
That is a knife to my heart.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We got a little under 2 years before The Force Awakens turns 10.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck.
Can I unsubscribe from life before that happens, please?
With that dreadful thought, as long as none of you have anything more to say, I think we can leave you guys with that thought.
Yeah.
May God have mercy upon our wretched souls.
Oh.
You're getting old. Goodbye.
Ciao.